Spider-Man No Way Home dropped last night, so let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Jackson George. I saw Spider-Man No Way Home last night. This is going to be my spoiler-free review for this video, and then hopefully later next week I'll drop a spoiler-filled review. I think that's what they're called. This is because I want to give everyone at least the weekend to go see the movie. And then also, I want you all to have input. You know, I don't want to see it early, release a ton of spoilers, and then have no one watch it because they're so scared of spoilers. So, I understand where you're coming from. I switched over to Google Chrome as my default browser for the past 2 weeks because it had an extension to block out spoilers. So I understand where you're coming from. So I'm going to give you all about a week, and then hopefully you've seen it by then, and then you can come back, watch a spoiler-free review, and then we can have a good conversation about that. First off, I never thought I'd have another Endgame experience. Endgame for me was a movie that I never thought I could replicate the experience. The experience could never be replicated. I felt like I was at a sporting venue. People were cheering and celebrating and screaming, when certain things would happen. It felt like you were at a sports game, at a basketball game, football game, whatever. I don't know, the atmosphere and then also what happened in the movie, I never thought could be replicated again. I thought that was going to be a one-time experience. Spider-Man No Way Home was super similar to that kind of experience. I wouldn't say it was that level just because the scope of Endgame was so freaking massive. But Spider-Man No Way Home definitely was up there with one of the greatest movie theater experiences I've ever had. And also, I'd encourage you to go see it that first weekend if you can find tickets, because you're going to get that experience with it. This movie was absolutely amazing. Not to confuse you with The Amazing Spider-Man, but this movie was just phenomenal. I, like most YouTubers on this platform, have a horrible tendency to overhype things and build up our expectations too high where a studio can't possibly meet them. But Marvel did that this time. They met our expectations, and I would say even past those expectations. I was a little bit nervous going into this movie that a Spider-Man 3 or an Amazing Spider-Man 2 thing was going to happen where there were just too many villains in the movie. But that was not a problem with this movie. Actually, I would say it was one of its greatest strengths was the villains in this movie, which says a lot in the people making this movie, because that was something they failed at twice, and, third time's a charm, I guess. But I loved the villains in this movie. If you didn't like a villain in their original movie, they were, redeemed in this one. They fixed the villains in this movie. I love Andrew Garfield, and I love Tobey Maguire's versions of Spider-Man. I think they did incredible jobs in their respective movies, and I definitely understand why people say Tobey Maguire is their Spider-Man. But in my opinion, regardless of what you grew up with, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, Tom Holland's Peter Parker, is the definitive version. He is the best version, and I think he just proves that in No Way Home. I loved his dynamic with Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange was an amazing choice to be in this movie. I know a lot of people complained about Iron Man in Homecoming and Far From Home. I guess he wasn't in Far From Home, but just his influence and his mentor role. But I think Doctor Strange's role in this movie was awesome. And I really hope he pops up in more movies kind of like that. Not necessarily the main character, but helping alongside. So Spider-Man No Way Home's runtime is about 2 hours and 30 minutes, and you won't notice how long it is. This movie has no time for you to rest, and I mean that in a good way. A lot of complaints about Endgame was that it was too long, and that the first 40, heck, even an hour were way too slow. I don't think so, but that was something I heard from a lot of my friends. No Way Home is not like that. It is just constantly moving, constantly going forward. And although that's not always action pieces, you don't necessarily feel like it's moving slow. And I think that's one of the strengths of this movie, and I'm really appreciative of that. So in the first trailer, I was a little concerned with their like reasoning for why all these villains were coming over. But I think in the movie they did a very good job of explaining why these villains were coming over. I think they did a really good job. The comedy in this movie, this movie made me laugh a lot of times, which isn't a surprise considering that, that's kind of Marvel's reputation. Just constant awe and laughter is kind of their trademark. I don't think I have too much more to say without spoiling it for you, which is not what I want to do here. So I'm going to go ahead and end it here. But I would say that Spider-Man No Way Home is the best of the 3 Tom Holland Spider-Man films. And that's just off first impressions. I do need to see it a couple more times. But first impression, best Spider-Man movie, and it gets a definite 2 thumbs up from me. Heck, I'd even give it a gnarly. Absolutely radical. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the spoiler-filled review. Hope you have a good week and enjoy yourself some Spider-Man. Lick it. Peace. Why am I the only one who's left in a